back to the channel. My name's Eddie, and today we're going to be working on a Dodge Durango. Now this Durango has a 5.7 Hemi. Big old boy, not really big old boy, it's the smallest V8 for the Hemis, but it still puts out some power. Today on the video we're going to be doing a cold air intake and some headers we're going to be installing. Now both the intake and the headers are AFE Power brand. So we got some Shorty headers, which are going to hook up directly to the stock exhaust. So we're going to bolt them up to the engine, and then this is going to hook up to the stock exhaust. So there's going to be no cutting, no modifying, no deleting catalytic converters or anything. As of right now, this Durango is completely stock, other than it has a mid-muffler delete. So we're going to be doing headers, cold air intake, and it's already got the mid-muffler delete. And we also got a Diablo tune that we're also going to plug in and try and tune it up a little bit. All right, so the first step you're going to do is you're going to want to jack it up the front and get it on jack stands, because pulling the headers out are going to be all done from the bottom of the vehicle. I'm going to slide under here and show you. You can see the header right there bolted to the engine, and then let's see, right here there's two bolts, one bolt here and then one bolt on the other side. Those are the bolts that hold this flange onto the header. So we're going to take on this side, there's a bolt here and there's a bolt there. Take those two bolts out. That flange will slide down off the header. Then the next step would be to pull this heat shield off. Pull the heat shield off, and then we'll have access to all the header bolts. And then we remove the header bolts and then pull the header out. It either come out upwards or downwards through this hole where I got my hand, but everything is gonna have to be wrenched down here. Same thing on that side. You can see there's a 10mm bolt right here that holds this heat shield on. There's one bolt here and there's one bolt on the front side. And then those two bolts, there's none up here. So there's just these two on the bottom, one here, one on the front, and that heat shield comes out. Once you get the heat shield out, like I said, you'll be able to get to the header bolts that are behind the heat shield. All right, so I'm pulling off the driver's side heat shield right here. I was wrong, there's actually 4 bolts. One bolt at the top, one bolt in the bottom and the back, and as for the front, there's one bolt in the top and one in the bottom. So I got it's 10mm bolt heads. These right here, there's 4 of these that hold the heat shield on. To be able to even get to ones in the front, I did come from the top in the engine bay. I had to take off the intake. I got the intake out of the way, used my trusty old side ratchet, pulled these two from up here, pulled the one on the top from up here, and then the one on the bottom underneath the header in the back, I got from down low. I'm gonna pull this heat shield out of here. I think I can slide it. Gotta get this thing out of here. Gotta bend it, whatever, to finesse it outwards, and then I'll be able to get to my header bolts. I'm thinking all the top header bolts I should be able to get from inside the engine bay, from up here. And then the ones on the bottom of the header, I'm gonna have to go down under to be able to take off. So I got the heat shield out. You just had to pull it up. It came upwards. I got 4, 5 of the bolts, 2 of the front bolts right here, and then the rest of the top bolts. Now there's gonna be some more on the side, the bottom of the header that I'm gonna have to go down year under to be able to get to. But you see this piece of metal right here? This is part of the header. It's like connected to the header. It's like a heat shield connected to the header gasket. It's all one, but be careful. It's really sharp. It will nick you up. Taking the bolts out and hit it a couple times. So now I'm about to crawl up under and grab the rest of the header bolts, and this header should be able to come out on the driver's side, and Evan's working on the passenger side right now. So I'm about to crawl under and get those out. All right, I got the driver's side header out. See the differences. This is all 5.7s have this log style header, which is not really great of flowing because they all just flow into this log right here and pile up together and force its way out. Whenever you got your headers, which this is a Shorty headers, which yes, it would be better to do long tubes, but the customer wanted to keep the catalytic converters, so he decided with Shorties, which is not a bad design compared to these. Another way, instead of buying this actual brand Shorties, you could buy the SRT headers from a 392 or a Hellcat, which is pretty much the same design. You can see they're all separate until they go into the flange. This one's built pretty nice. Flows, looks like it flows pretty good, all grinded and polished and ported where the welds were, so it don't restrict no flow. So I guess I'm about to go slap this driver's side on while Evan's still under there struggling with the passenger. So we got here our supplied hardware that came with the AFE power headers. Let's see what kind of hardware we got. So we got 4 nuts. It should be 4 long bolts. So actually 5. And then these are all, so all these little bolts should be the bolts that go right here through the flange on the engine side. And then these 2 long bolts should go through here, and these should be your nuts to bolt this to the this flange to the exhaust. And it also came with Felpro header gaskets. It's a good brand gasket. But this was, like I was telling you, this metal heat shield plate right here. When it bolts up, this goes upwards. And when you're getting those top bolts, sometimes you nick your knuckles on there, and it will splice you wide open. All right, I got all the bolts in the header going toward the cylinder head. Let me tell y'all a little trick on the header bolts that bolt the header to the cylinder head. You got to put all the bolts in the holes loosely before you can tighten any of them up. A lot of times I'll be going behind people that do header jobs, and they'll have a couple header bolts stripped out or backed out, not even twisted in. They'll be sticking out halfway and stuff, and all you really got to do is put them all in loosely before you tighten one up. Because as soon as you tighten one up, you won't be able to get the one in the back end. You tighten the one in the back, you won't be able to get the one in the front end, because as soon as you tighten the header, it's fixed to where it's at and the holes aren't lined up. But if you put all the bolts in loosely, you could tighten them up afterwards. And that goes for pretty much everything. Same thing with a water pump, same thing with timing covers, same thing with the intake. You got to put all the bolts in the intake manifold loosely before you tighten any of them up. So I got them all in there loosely. I got to get a wrench and tighten all the bolts up, and then as soon as we get that header bolted on, we can hook up the flanges on both the headers. I'm not going to hook up the flange on the bottom of this header, because if I tighten that up, it'll put his header in a bind from trying to come in and out. All right, so I got all the header manifold bolts bolted to the cylinder head and tightened all the way down. Evan's over there putting his header on now. So I'm gonna go ahead, and while I'm waiting on him, I'm gonna throw the cold air intake in. So we got the new box right here, and you're gonna have to take these rubber pieces, these two rubbers, off of the old box. Take them off of the old box and slop them into the new box, because they sit down onto these little nipples right there and notch in. Got the driver's side header completely bolted in. Got the flange hooked up to the rest of the exhaust. We're tightening up this header right now. Almost done. I just hooked up Diablo tuner. I stuck it up there, ran the wire down through the dashboard, and I hooked it up to the OBD2 port. Got the rest of the wires wrapped up, zip tied up nice and neat under there. So I guess let's walk through the process. Tuning. So it needs a bypass cable because it's too new. So since we have a 2024 Durango, we're gonna need to get the bypass cable, which did not come in this box or kit. So that's an extra part we're gonna have to be able to get to be able to tune with that Diablo, because there's security system that won't let us in until we get a bypass cable, which is like, you just got to look it up to be able to see how it is. I won't be able to explain or show you how to install it until we get it. So that's just going to have to be something the customer is going to have to do on his own. There we go. We got the cold air intake installed. We got the headers installed. You really can't see them unless you come on the driver's side a little bit. Not too bad. The headers was really tight. Some of the bolts were really hard to tighten up because of the way the headers curved right in front of the bolt, so there was no straight shot to get to them. You had to like use wrenches and stuff like that to be able to get to the bolts, and it was really hard, I'm not gonna lie. But we got it done. The headers installed, cold air intake installed. Gotta have a bypass cable to be able to have that working. Fish moves for a 5.7. Oh, let's say it gets up. Trying to figure out how to put it. There it is. Sport mode. drive swap, and the Hellcat supercharger, and I'm pretty sure it'll make 700 horsepower.
Oh yeah.